Morning, kiddies. Time for a Melody Tent in Hyannis story. The Melody Tent in Hyannis is this huge tent where they do summer musical performances. And during the 70s and 80s, I performed there almost every summer. We would do musical after musical after musical. And as time progressed, the tent became more of a show place for single acts like Jerry Lewis or so forth. And so it became a band that's kind of backed singers or whatever. But it was always fun and paid well, and it was a delightful experience. But there was one experience which was terrifying for me, and I'll tell you about it because, again, I mentioned my lack of jazz experience. We were playing a show opening that week called Bubbling Brown Sugar, and it was music of Duke Ellington put into kind of a review. There was a young African-American lady conducting the band, and there was just one trombone and like two trumpets and maybe two saxes. It was almost like a combo type thing. And I was the one trombone. And sitting next to me was one of the great freelancers of Boston, a guy who could do anything. His name was Sil DeBano. He was an alto sax, tenor sax, clarinet, flute. You name it, he could play it all. And brilliantly. He was a great jazz improviser, a great show tune player, great musical player. And it was always a pleasure to play next to him. At any rate, we rehearsed the opening, the overture, and we got to the end of the overture, and there was a blank measure there with a tacit, and it said ad lib jazz trombone solo. And she turns to me, and the band is holding a chord, and I'm supposed to stand up and improvise a jazz improvisatory ending. Well, I had never done that before in my life, but I had heard enough of Phil Wilson's playing, for instance, and a few others, that I could kind of fake my way through what sounded more or less like it. So I stood up and played, and I kept playing and playing all the tricks, as I know, all the bag of tricks musicians call it, things that the little moments you can put together. And she kept going like this and so forth. And I was aware while I was doing this that Sil DeBano, the saxophone player sitting beside me, was sitting there going. So he knew how perfectly uneducated jazz I was doing, you know. But I didn't say anything. And the chick conducted, fine. She sat me down. The rest of the band kind of applauded, but Sil, you know. I didn't say anything to Sil. But we got to the opening night, and she had me stand up. We played the overture, and I did the same thing, pretty much I had done. And again, Sil is sitting there going, you know, which kind of upset me, but I ignored him. And I sat down. The crowd gave me a nice round of applause. And the next day, Tuesday, the Cape Cod newspaper came out with a review of the show. And they kind of liked the show, and they certainly liked the music. But at the end of the review, this review said, by the way, wonderful jazz trombone solo by the trombone player at the end of the overture, you know. Well, of course, I was stunned, and it also showed how much she knew about jazz, of course. But anyway, I cut it out and highlighted that last line, and I found Sil's locker, and I pasted it on his locker with some Scotch tape and walked away and watched him as he came in that night. And he walked in and started to open his locker and looked and read it and saw it and went,